Hello and welcome to this presentation on stress management presented by the Counseling Center. Some information here about our Counseling Center. There are several ways to learn more, reach out to us, get connected with us. You can either do that by phone number, our email is listed here, or you can even check out our website. We have a ton of different stuff listed here on our website. It'd be really beneficial for you to check that out if you're kind of looking for more information. So a quick outline today of what we're going to talk about. First, we're going to define what is stress. We're going to talk about the different types of stress, dive into some of the signs and symptoms of stress, and then conclude this presentation on discussing different ways that we can manage our stress when we do experience it. So to begin with, just a quick textbook definition of what is stress. Stress is the body's reaction to any change that requires an adjustment or a response. So it's how our body reacts to any change or adjustment. And don't forget, stress can be good. So a lot of times when we hear the word stress or someone says, I'm so stressed, we think of it as a bad thing. But also know that stress is actually pretty good. We know that stress keeps us alert. Stress motivates us. And it helps us prepare to avoid danger. And so our early ancestors used stress in that fight, flight response. They kind of established this, it motivates us if there is danger to get out of the way, right? When we're in a stressful situation, nowadays, maybe when we're stuck studying for a test, or if we have an upcoming exam that we know about, stress motivates us. Motivates us to study, to do good on that exam. It can be really beneficial to have small amounts of stress. It's when it becomes more intense, more severe, or long-lasting that we begin to be concerned about our stress. So these are just some common causes of stress, and I know this isn't a really extensive list, and you probably have a lot more that you would add to this list, but these are some of the most common forms of stress. So major life changes. College is definitely one of them. When we move to college for the first time, oftentimes we're leaving our family, our friends, our communities for the first time. This is a major life change, and this can cause a lot of stress. Work, maybe even starting a new job, work can cause some stress. School, we know that there's a lot of pressure, a lot of challenges that school and academics bring about. And this can cause an amount of stress, whether that's studying for exams, concerns about passing your classes, making friends, anything like that. School does cause some stress. Also relationships, whether that's, because there's challenges or difficulties or just in general, relationships can cause a great deal of stress. Financial problems, being too busy. Sometimes we pack our schedules so full that it's not good, it's not healthy. It causes a lot of stress to be busy and running around all the time. Family and children can cause stress or concern. Rigid thinking or a lack of flexibility. This one might sound a little different to you, but when we have that rigid thinking, that all thinking everything has to be done right, so no budging the line anyway. There's no flexibility in anything. This can cause a lot of stress. Negative self-talk, right? If we're telling ourselves these negative messages, saying mean and hurtful things to ourselves, it can cause us to experience a lot of stress. Unrealistic expectations, or known as perfectionism. This causes a great deal of stress. When we strive to have everything perfect, everything exact, have these unrealistic expectations, maybe for ourselves, our academics, the cleanliness of our homes, anything like this. That perfectionism, those unrealistic expectations, might be okay at first. They might motivate us, right, to clean our house, to study hard, or do something. But when they become a little overbearing, kind of constantly on our mind, that's when stress creeps in and takes over. And this all or nothing attitude, kind of like that rigid thinking, lack of flexibility, and that black and white thinking, either I'm fully committed to it or I'm not. That type of attitude can cause us a lot of stress, a lot of concern. So like I said before, these are just some common causes of stress. I know there's plenty more that we would add to this list. Everyone experiences stress a little bit differently, but these are just some of your basic ones here. And now we're going to talk about different types of stress. So we know that there's 3 different types of stress. We're going to define those one by one here in the next 3 slides. The first is acute stress. This is the most common form of stress that basically everyone experiences. It's pretty short term, and acute stress starts with being thrilling and exciting. But we know that too much of it then can be exhausting, and that's what pushes us into some of the other forms of stress. Acute stress, it's motivational. Maybe it's that stress we experience right before an exam, but it's pretty short term, right? Because then we take the exam and then we feel better. We also know that acute stress is treatable and it's manageable, maybe just by doing some deep breathing or some of our other tips and tricks we'll have here later on in this presentation. But acute stress, this is what most people experience from day to day or week to week. Short term, but it is treatable and manageable on your own. Episodic acute stress. This is what describes those who suffer from acute stress frequently. So this would be like that next level. So if you're constantly kind of stressed about something, maybe this switches then to the episodic acute stress. Sometimes people with episodic acute stress are considered worry wards, or they describe themselves as having a lot of nervous energy all the time. And so it might seem a bit over the top, a bit exaggerated, they're worried about everything. They've got all this nervous energy all the time. That's an outcome of that stress that they're experiencing. Oftentimes their symptoms are more intense. Maybe they pull in on different emotional responses, physical responses, and they're not just present for just a quick amount of time. They might last a little bit longer. We also know that treatment for this episodic acute stress must be more consistent and intense. Maybe this is when they actually reach out to a mental health counselor, or they reach out to family and friends to kind of help them get through these challenging times, or they talk to a doctor about it. Whatever it might be, treatment must be a little more consistent and intense, kind of help them get through these symptoms since they are more intense themselves. Chronic stress is the third type of stress, and this is probably your most severe type of stress. Chronic stress, it wears people down. It destroys bodies, minds, and lives. Chronic stress takes so much out of people. It really is debilitating at times. Chronic stress happens when people never see a way out of a miserable situation. And so maybe they are the type of people who are faced with the situation and they don't ever see that light at the end of the tunnel. That chronic stress just takes over and it doesn't seem to go away. We know too that sometimes chronic stress stems from traumatic experiences. This could be traumatic experiences during childhood, early adulthood, or at any point in their lives. Chronic stress, it results from these traumatic experiences, and it just continues to wear those people down then. The worst aspect of chronic stress, though, is that people get used to it. If this stress is constantly present in their lives, constantly something that they're dealing with, living with, they start to get used to it. It becomes their new normal. And this is dangerous. This is hard to work through. This is hard to break out of then, because it's really taking a toll on your body, your mind, your life, and the lives of those around you as well. So signs and symptoms, we know that there's 3 different kind of areas that stress exhibits itself in. So that's mental, like kind of your thoughts, emotional, and then some physical symptoms of it as well. So the first we have here are the physical symptoms of stress. And so some of the most common physical symptoms for many people: dizziness, aches and pains, clenched jaw or grinding teeth, headaches, partly caused from that clenched jaw all the time, stomach pain and indigestion, an increase or loss of appetite, tension in your muscles, issues sleeping, racing heart, cold, sweaty palms, tiredness and exhaustion, again relating back to those sleeping issues, trembling and shaking, and even changes in weight, partly due from that change of your appetite or eating habits. So these are just some of the physical symptoms. These are the more common ones. Each person, though, again, feels stress differently. They experience different symptoms. And so just kind of take note for yourself. Are you checking off a lot of these different boxes? Are you only noticing maybe one or two that you notice? Or maybe you definitely would add more to this list. That's all right too. These are just the physical symptoms of stress. On the next slide here, we have the psychological and emotional symptoms of stress. So when someone's stressed, psychologically or emotionally, they might feel depressed and kind of sad. They might feel anxiety, anger, or irritability, feelings of overwhelmed, unmotivated, or unfocused. Maybe they'll have racing thoughts, constantly worrying about the situation or the event or the person or whatever it is that they're stressed about, or that constant worry. There also might be problems with memory or concentration, especially if our thoughts are always racing or focused on somewhere else. It might be hard to pay attention and concentrate and retain some of that information. And an outcome might be too to make bad decisions. If we're not thinking clearly, if we're letting our emotions get the best of us, maybe we're starting to make bad decisions then. These are just some of the symptoms of stress, once again, for the psychological and emotional side of things. So now we're going to focus in on managing and reducing stress. And so these are just some different ideas, some tips and some tricks that you could implement into your daily routine. Maybe when you notice that stress is kind of creeping back into your life, try to pull on some of these and see if they help eliminate some of that stress, help curb it just a little bit. That's what we're trying to get at here. Awareness is the first one. And so if you could, look at this graph or this little image here and see for yourself, where is your stress at maybe right now, or at, on a typical day, or when you're in a stressful situation, where's your stress level at? Are you more towards that high stress zone, those 8s, 9s, 10s? In the middle somewhere? Maybe more towards the lower end. Maybe you jump between a 2 and an 8. And so if we just describe these numbers here real quick: 1, creative, cheerfully engaged in life. Well, that means not much stress at all. Number 2, I'm relaxed and expect to stay this way. That's a pretty content lifestyle right there. 3, 4, and 5, I can handle stress and think of positive solutions to my challenges. Might be some of that acute stress, we know that things are going to happen, but we can handle it. We can get through it. 6 and 7, moderately irritable, anxious, or overwhelmed, and stresses feel burdensome. This is when it starts to switch and gets a little more intense, right? You're more anxious or overwhelmed. That stress feels more burdensome to you. Number 8, my problems seem unresolved. Many things are irritating or upsetting me. Maybe someone in the 8 zone doesn't really see that light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe it's way far away and they can't really achieve that yet. Number 9, help. I'm about to lose it. 9 is crying out for help, right? They know that they're in over their heads. They know that the stress is so bad that they need some help. And number 10, I have chart-topping negative emotions. This means they are so deep in that chronic stress that it's overcome their lives. Maybe they've already become used to it, kind of numb to the effects of it. And so those 8s, 9s, 10s, that's when we really need to focus in, become aware of our stress so that we can move forward with some of these other tips. But with this awareness skill, kind of take note of where you're at and then where you want to be and why. And so this is just a great visual and kind of gives us an idea of where we're at and helps us with that awareness. Some other tips for reducing stress then, keep a positive attitude, right? So if we're so negative all the time, we're so down on ourselves, this can be really hard. This can be really frustrating. But if we keep a positive attitude, we keep chugging along, things are going to get better. We'll have a positive outlook on life. Also, accept that there are events that you just can't control. This helps with keeping a positive attitude. It helps with that all or nothing perfectionist kind of thinking. If you understand that there are going to be things you cannot control, this helps reduce that stress. It helps us realize that maybe it's not worth stressing about. Be assertive instead of aggressive. Be assertive. State what you need. State what you need help with. Don't be aggressive about it. Aggressiveness might not get us anywhere. It might not solve any of that stress that we're feeling. But if we're assertive, we know what we need and what we want, that's going to be better than being aggressive. Another tip here, exercise regularly. This helps get the blood going, kind of might pull that attention away from constant rumination on thoughts. Exercising regularly helps our mind and our bodies. It can really be good for helping to reduce some of that stress. Healthy habits. We want to be healthy. We want to have healthy nutrition, balanced meals. This is going to fuel our body. This is going to help us be able to have the energy to get through our days, kind of get through these stressful situations. So being healthy, having those well-balanced meals is important. Learn to manage your time more effectively. If we're procrastinating our assignments or our homework to the last minute, if we're not allowing us enough time to study for an upcoming exam, this can cause a lot of stress, a lot of frustration, and just leave us feeling so overwhelmed when there's so much to do all at once, right at the end. So if we learn how to manage our time, this is going to reduce some of that stress. It's going to spread out our task maybe over a week instead of over a couple hours. It's really going to cut down on some of that stress we experience. Setting limits and learning to say no. This is important. If you're the type of person who likes to do it all, who doesn't have those limits and says yes to everything, that can be really overwhelming and really stressful when there's a lot of demands on you. But if you start to set limits and learn to say no to some things, this is going to help reduce the stress and help you feel better overall. Make time for your hobbies. Hobbies are things we enjoy to do, are things that we like doing. They bring us happiness and peace. If we've cut those all out of our life, it's not going to help with our stress. So find the time, schedule it in, make the time for your hobbies, since they're going to be the things that make you feel good, feel relaxed, and help reduce some of that stress. Practice good sleep hygiene. We know that when we're stressed, one of those symptoms is, messed up sleep schedules, inadequate sleep. And so if we're practicing good sleep hygiene, we're allowing our bodies time to rest and recover and recharge before going back into the next day. It's really going to help us reduce some stress and feel better overall. And then seek out social support. Maybe this is from a friend that you trust and know, from a family member, or from a mental health counselor. All these individuals were here to help you. We're here to listen to what's going on and help you get through the stressful time so that maybe it doesn't cause so much concern or so many physical and emotional problems. And so social support is necessary. It's very beneficial to have in varying degrees. And so it's just definitely a tip for that you should keep in mind if you're wanting to reduce some of that stress. And then practice relaxation techniques. This is one of those very helpful tidbits that we could share with you, is practicing these relaxation techniques. And there's several different ways, as you can see here. Meditation, deep breathing. So this might be like those deep diaphragmatic breaths that come from like deep in your stomach. They really kind of help you focus in on your body and your breathing and not let that quickened breath or that quickened pace take over. Progressive muscle relaxation. This is something you can learn how to do. This is something that some counselors work with. But it's progressively tensing and then relaxing your muscles, kind of giving yourself the okay to release that tension, release those tight muscles, and let go of that stress that you're carrying. This is a great way to help reduce stress in the moment when we're feeling it, and also when we know it's starting to creep back into our lives. Yoga, this is another great one we can do, whether it's in the gym, outside, at home by ourselves. Yoga is a great way to relax and reconnect with our body and our breathing and reduce some of that stress. There's also mindfulness exercises and guided imagery. Some of these are really great. They focus in on identifying different things in our body, helping us visualize different things, visualizing letting go of that tension, visualizing that stress, and then watching it dissipate. So these are different relaxation techniques. If you want to learn more about this, you can always talk to one of our counselors, check out our website. There's a bunch of different apps you can get on your phone too for a lot of these different things. This might be just a great way to start identifying that stress in your body and then learning how to navigate it. Practice those deep breathing so that way when you're in the moment, in a stressful situation, you can do these things and then it kind of helps reduce some of those symptoms we experience. Just again, here's some information again on our counseling center. We're happy to meet with you, talk with you over the phone, through email, if you stop by our office. You can also check out our website. Like I said, there's a lot of information on there. You might learn more about those different relaxation techniques. We have a listing of different apps on there or different websites you can check out to learn more about this kind of stuff. So if you want to check that out, just head over to our website or set up an appointment with one of our counselors to kind of talk through maybe some stress that you are experiencing. Well, thank you for listening to this presentation today on stress and stress management. I hope you learned something from it. And don't hesitate to reach out if you want more. Otherwise, thank you for listening and participating. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks.